nice to you. Take a seat. Can I take you some beer? There's some beer. There's beer coming up quicker than you would know.
Promise me a beer.
There's plenty of beer. It's on. Hello. Joshua's mic. Pull up. 1, 2, 3. Sorry about it. Test. I did the job. Well, we're very honored to have you here. Wonderful concert.
Thank you. Oh, I had a great time. It's the two pieces I played are incredible works. Obviously the Tchaikovsky I've played probably 1,000 times in my life, but to play it here with this orchestra, Maestro Eschenbach is one of my favorites. We go very far back. We played together when I was very young, and so it was a great pleasure. And this hall, of course, is so great. And for me, the Sheherazade is something very much fun for me, and a piece I've always loved. And finally, I got a chance to do it. I've been trying to find a way to play it, and they allowed me to sit in and play it. So that was
actually the other thing. A lot of people were hoping before the break that afterwards you would return as the concert master. You did.
Yeah, it's unusual. I guess normally I play the Tchaikovsky and I can drink my beer sooner, yeah, I love. It feels like chamber music, you know, and I love making music in any way. So this was a.
Is this an exhausting program?
Yeah, it's pretty tiring. It's a lot to do, but you don't think about that when you're on stage. You think about it after.
How is it to play with a youth orchestra? Is that much different?
It is different. The attitude is different playing with the youth orchestra. This is my second youth orchestra tour this summer.
Wow.
I just came from one with the American Youth Orchestra with Valery Gergiev was conducting that tour in Moscow, and then I came straight into this one. So it's a treat. You know, there's something very exciting about playing with young people. Their attitude is just one of wanting to make music, and it's not about having a job and doing it for a living yet. Which after many years, sometimes you get a complacency in an orchestra. Of course, not the Concerto orchestra, but there are other orchestras that you play with that you feel like they're doing their job, and they too have played the Tchaikovsky 1,000 times in their life, and they say, yeah, we know how it goes, and there's not this sort of wonder and excitement that you get from a youth orchestra. So for me, I jumped at the chance to do this.
I completely can understand what you mean, because today during rehearsal, it was completely different than a normal day, because all these young people, they running around, but taking pictures, filming each other, playing outside in front of the artist entrance. It really has very lively feeling.
I think the idea of the youth orchestra is going to help keep classical music going for the rest of time, you know, and it's really being spread around the world right now. The youth orchestras in South America, the Sistema, and all these great things. I think it's also great for people to bring young people to the concerts to see the youth orchestra, because they can look up to these people. These are role models, and it shows that classical music isn't just for old people, and this is really the way of the future.
Have you ever yourself played in a youth orchestra?
When I was a kid, we did not have a good youth orchestra in my town, so I missed that. But there were summer programs and summer camps. I did it when I was 14 and 15, and it was some great experiences working with great conductors. And it's funny that people ask me when I've done this a few times. People say, "What is it like playing in concertmaster? It must be so different." And I don't really understand that, because it's really it's making music. It's leading the way you would in a string quartet and playing together. And it's not a different. It's really not. You don't approach music in a different way when you're playing there or up there. When you play solo, you don't just play and hope that they all follow you. It's also playing chamber music, and that's the way it should be. And playing with someone like Eschenbach, he's a great pianist as well, and a great chamber musician. And when you play with him, you feel like he's inside it, like you're playing chamber music, like he's a chamber music partner, which you don't always get with conductors.
I do want to stay for a moment on the topic of the youth orchestras and take you back to 1990. Do you remember where you were on the 12th of August?
1990, the 12th of August, I think I was playing on a youth orchestra tour, the Soviet American Youth Orchestra tour, when it was still the Soviet Union, and half of the kids were from the Soviet, or all around the Soviet Union, and half were American, and then I was the soloist on the tour. And on the actual 12th, did we play here?
You were right here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you remember what we played?
probably Sibelius or Tchaikovsky. Was it
Tchaikovsky?
Tchaikovsky?
Yeah.
I did both on the tours.
Okay, mine had both. I was focusing on the reviews.
That's funny. I don't remember that I played that here.
Like I was looking for the reviews or like just newspaper articles, and I found that. And then the Dutch NRC, which is or used to be one of the better newspapers of the Netherlands. It still is, but I'm not being that discussion. But they wrote, it was.
Yeah. Are you sure?
Yes, it's definitely okay. It's musical recklessness and stunning techniques. And I think 23 years later, it would still apply.
Still reckless?
In a positive way. I mean, this is also my translation from Dutch to English, so I might have lost something, but yeah, at some point you feel like, wow, you were taking that. It seems like you and the orchestra were challenging each other.
That was Tchaikovsky's doing.
Okay.
He wrote it that way. Yeah, it's a brilliant piece.
And is it so that they always say, and I've never been playing violin, let alone the Tchaikovsky violin concerto, that it's very difficult. Is that a cliche or is it true? Or?
It's difficult. Yes, I make it look difficult.
What makes it difficult?
Well, it's. I mean, it really is. It demands a lot from the violinist and the orchestra, but the technical challenges are great. In fact, yeah, when it was first written, many thought it was kind of unplayable, but now, of course, everyone plays it. It also asks a lot for endurance, because once you start playing, it just doesn't stop until you have a couple of little breaks, and then from the cadenza to the end is about 10 minutes of straight violin playing without any break at all, and it can be quite tiring as well.
Yeah. Why was it more difficult to play 125 more years ago when it was written, or I mean, I wonder right now everyone.
Well, no, I think that probably the general technique of people today, young kids, it's generally higher at and just like, many things, there was, before someone broke the 4-minute mile when they're running, there was a barrier. Nobody thought that anybody could ever run a mile in less than 4 minutes. And then once somebody did it, that many people did it after that. So it's kind of a mental barrier. And then with the Tchaikovsky, at first glance it looks very difficult. But once people can prove, someone came out and, Heifetz really conquered it, and Leopold Auer finally took to it, and unfortunately he also made many cuts in the piece and did many changes, which I learned that way when I was younger, but now I've removed them, because actually Tchaikovsky was a pretty smart guy and knew what he was doing, and you don't need to do that. But I think once it's done, it's people. I don't know.
When someone sets the example, shows that it's possible, the others will follow eventually. Yeah, great. Hey, in that time, a critic wrote, "The violin was not played, but beaten black and blue." Should we have pity on your violin?
I think most critics should be beaten black. And recklessly at that, actually. Well, I didn't hear the first performance, so it's possible that this piece can certainly, because it's so difficult and there's a lot going on. It can. I've heard the piece beaten quite, because it's often, I find, played with a very heavy hand. This piece, because many people think of Tchaikovsky violin concerto as being a very heavy piece, and I don't hear it that way as much. I hear it as being very. Of course, it has its moments and great, grand, strong moments, but it also has many elegant and beautiful moments that are not like that. And Tchaikovsky was the great ballet composer, so much elegance and charm, and I think that's the challenge to bring that out in the piece as well, not just the grandiosity.
Well, I think you succeeded there. Your violin, that survived tonight definitely, has just had or will have its 300-year anniversary.
Yeah, it was made in, my violin was made by Stradivarius in 1713, so we have it's 300 years. I don't know what day it was finished, but it was 1730, so it's the whole year I'm celebrating it.
I'll keep an eye on it as well.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat. It's a great violin, I think, and I've had it now for 12 years. So.
Can you imagine moving on to another instrument? I mean, another violin, or is this one that you will keep?
Violins are something that one will probably falls in love with a great violin a few times in one's career. I had a great Stradivari before this, and then I really fell in love with this one. It could happen again, and then I probably will not have, if it does happen, I will not have enough money to keep this one and buy the next one. But I'm working on it, and that would be the idea.
Oh, well, good. Leila, I'm curious to see. I want to do some questions from the audience, if that's all right with you. I'm just going to get a mic to do so. Thank you very much. Let's see if this one is turned on. The first question right here. There you go.
Hi, my name is Uishi. I'm from San Francisco Bay Area. And in 2007, my friend sent me this clip, said, hey, check this out. Joshua is playing at the Washington, D.C. Metro.
Oh.
Okay.
So,
I was wondering how long it would take before I heard that.
First one. I still want to hear the answer. What was your motivation? And you played for more than 40 minutes and nobody stopped. Were you disappointed? And are you going to do some surprise like that in future?
Questions in a row.
Does anyone here know about this Metro?
Yeah.
It's amazing. The motivation for it was really just something I did for fun. I just it was the idea of the Washington Post, the newspaper. They wanted to do this little so-called experiment, although it really wasn't an experiment, it was more of a stunt. And I just played along, and I didn't think, I thought it would happen and be finished after one, printing of the paper and it would be done. And first of all, I did make $39 in 40 minutes.
That's more than I've ever heard, so it's pretty neat.
And I was not surprised, and it's pretty much happened the way I expected, because we chose a particular place and a time where it was not conducive for people to stay and listen, and they weren't expecting it. And I think music needs, like we had tonight, an audience that's quiet and listening and using their brain and their active mind. That's what classical music demands. So I wasn't surprised at all. I was surprised that now 6 years later we're still talking about this to the internet and the.
It's an ongoing thing on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
People draw very big conclusions out of it, like, oh, we can't appreciate beauty, we have no eye for it, we have no time for it in modern times.
I think it definitely struck some kind of chord with a lot of people. Otherwise, we wouldn't have. And I think we do. There are some truths to that. In that we live sort of in a bubble these days. We kind of, especially in the big cities, where everyone's in their own little world with their headphones and they're texting, and they don't really pay attention to what's happening around them that much. I do remember when I did it that many of the children that walked by, they wanted to at least listen, and at least they noticed that something unusual was happening, because I was playing with a Strad in a very cavernous, very nice space, and it was making very big noise. I mean, and it's funny how many people just didn't notice, but the children all did. And in fact, from that, there's a children's story that just came out based on this. Some woman wrote a beautiful little story about a child that listened to someone in the subway, and the mother inspired by the story, and it's very sweet.
Wow.
About a child who notices things and a mother who doesn't notice things. It's very sweet. She ends up learning from her child.
The story continues.
Yeah. So yet another thing, coming from this.
Oh, interesting. I'm going to check it out. Next question.
Hello.
I've been a fan of yours for many years. I'm an opera singer, and I would love to sing a little piece for you because I've always practiced on your music. Would that be
You don't need it.
Roshan, thank you very much. It was very surprising and wonderful.
lyrics completely, I'm so sorry.
That's okay, that was Costa Diva, and I guess I actually made an arrangement of that on one of my albums called Voice of the Violin. You used that.
Like many
There are so many singers that you should be using for that.
I love that rendition, so that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your
Does anyone know the word chutzpah? That's and a beautiful voice. That's very nice too.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, next question or musical remark. The stage is open.
I just want to see a short song. My question is, do you have a specific place, maybe where you're from, not necessarily a concert hall or something like this, that you really very much enjoy to perform? Places?
What place you really like to perform?
And of course, the obvious answer is the Concerto, but it's actually true. It is one of the special places. One of the handful of places that I would list as really glorious spaces to play. Carnegie Hall in New York, which is where I live, and it's a legendary place for me. Which I made my debut when I was 17, and it was one of my most important moments in my career. This place, of course, Musikverein in Vienna, and there are a few others, but Wigmore Hall in London. I love playing small places, and then actually the place that I really enjoy performing is my own house in New York. I have house concerts and salons, and I built my apartment in New York with that in mind, to have.
I've seen them on internet.
Yes.
Oh, yeah? Yes. Wait a second. Is this the Truman Show? Is there cameras in my house? Well, not much going on. So yeah.
Your house, Carnegie Hall, and Concerto. Should we do 2 more questions in a while for you? Yeah? Yes.
My name is Koen, I'm from Holland. I have a question. If we see you on stage, you look very, very inspired, and I know there are many violinists like Vengerhoff or Snyder who start conducting at a time. Do you have any plans for that in the future? Or, and other question is, how do you, if not, how do you stay so inspired all these times playing solo?
Well, I don't just play solo. I keep myself inspired by doing things like playing tonight Sheherazade and not just playing the Tchaikovsky. I also happen to be conducting myself as well. And I have, actually, I'm a music director of an orchestra called the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields for the last two years. And so that's, I would love to bring them here. We tour in Europe quite a lot. And I would like to come here someday. It would be nice. So yeah, you have to keep challenging and moving and doing new things, and not just staying stuck in the things that you've been doing your whole life. So
and how's it like when you play one piece, as you said, for example, the Tchaikovsky Concerto, for 1,000 times? Doesn't it get bored on a certain point? Or work, or something like, okay, there we go again?
It can be if you don't put it takes a lot of discipline actually to keep reinvigorating and looking at the piece again and falling in love with it again. It's like a marriage. I think I've not been married, but people who are married, you know, who stay happily married, they have to keep falling in love with their finding and do new things and not get stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
And it's the same with a great piece of music. You have to keep looking at it fresh and keep experimenting and keeping
your relationship with Tchaikovsky is very strong. Sweet. Last question over here.
Hello. Hello.
Well, sorry, well, okay, 2 quick questions. Oh, you have no question? Oh, okay.
You say you were at one mind with Mr. Eschenbach. Can you give us an example of any time when you were not in one mind with a conductor?
Ooh, interesting. Can you give us an example when you and a conductor were not one mind?
An example I'm not going to mention names, but most of the other times. No, it's generally I get along with conductors, and often it really helps to have a conductor. Sometimes it gets in the way, and that's why with the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields I'm direct myself. Just recently directed Brahms Violin Concerto without a conductor, played and directed, and it felt fantastic. Of course, playing with a great conductor adds something very special. So it's the role of a soloist is not just making music, it's being a diplomat as well, and knowing how to get results without being a complete jerk, which one feels like being sometimes when the conductor's being a pain or the orchestra's not paying attention or caring enough. So you have to use your psychology skills as well to be strong but nice enough but strong enough. It's just as a conductor as well, it's particularly even harder as a conductor. You'll notice that most orchestras do not like their conductors after about 2 years of working with them, just because the dynamic is very difficult, the boss dynamic. So getting it just right, earning their respect, but yet being kind enough, it's very hard to do. Yeah. Maybe one last question from a young person somewhere.
Yes. We have all night.
Hi, I wanted to know, how would you get a career in kind of working your way up? I have no idea on how to become an orchestral player. I don't know how. Yeah, I play violin.
Okay. Well, being a violinist, you have a better chance than a tuba player. There are a lot more spaces. You know, you have to. I mean, it's hard to give exact advice, just a general advice, but you have to follow. Clearly, it sounds like you want to play in an orchestra.
Yeah, I do play in orchestras, but not in like not in kind of your level. Like, I'd like to work up to it, but I don't know how.
You just answered the question. You work up to it, and you one step at a time, and you challenge yourself. And the auditioning is very difficult these days, because sometimes it's like a competition, 200 people for one spot as a major orchestra. But persevere and take work whenever you can, because just working is good for you. Even if you're not making a lot of money, it's just getting out there and working and getting experience is very, very, very important. And if you love to play, then you'll find your way one way or another. Because as a musician, you can do chamber music, play in an orchestra, you can teach, you can do anything. And there's no better job than being a musician if it's something you love to do. So.
Will that help?
Yeah, you got me out of a run tonight, because I haven't played in months because my instrument broke.
Well,
wait a second, that's not a good excuse.
I couldn't play for ages. So,
alright, well. You do have to play. That's one advice is you can't go months without playing, and then you're not going to do it.
I know.
Spark
I fell in love with a new instrument recently, so now I'm going to start playing.
Okay, good luck. Go for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being here. I hope you have a bit of time in Amsterdam still left.
Thanks,
or
Lord.
you're going to leave Thursday? Or Wednesday?
I'm around a little bit. Thank
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.